All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for attending our next version of the Success Series. We have a very special guest today, who is Merle Land. I'll give you a little bit of some background on Merle. Um, Merle, truth is I don't know 100% of your story, so I'm super excited to be a listener today too. Merle and I have known each other for a number of years. She's been at Roswell for what,
5 years.
65 years, 6 years or so.
Hmm.
So we've gotten an opportunity to get to know each other over time. Um, Merle has served on our Agent Leadership Council for several years, and we served together several times. Um, she is got a business that is, you know, predictable and big. She's been a six-figure earner plus for many years. You've been in the business now for over 40 years. Is that right?
33 years.
33 years. So you have seen uh,
Everything.
a lot of stuff, right? You
Right.
didn't always have command. You didn't always, use social media. The technology has evolved over time, and I'm excited to hear more about that. Kind of how you've, you know, pivoted many times. You've seen great markets like the one we're in now, and you've seen lousy markets, probably a couple of them. So I'd love
Several.
for you to kind of be a source of information today. As I mentioned before, the group is primarily new people. So I'd love for you just to share some wisdom, some strategies, some tips, some encouragement um, with the group today. And one thing that I have always loved about you, Merle, is that you are you're very patient. You've always come from contribution. You're more than happy to share all the things that you have done over time to be successful. And I've really admired that from afar over time. And I'm super glad and grateful for your time today and for your willingness to pour into me and to the others here. So let's start it off by uh, tell us a little bit about how you got to real estate. Have you always been in real estate? Did you have some
Mhm.
other work before real estate? Walk us through the very early days.
I will be happy. And first of all, to everyone on this call, welcome. Welcome. You are so smart to be part of Bill's productivity group, and we'll talk about that. And I'm going to give you a phrase that I heard a long time ago, and I will explain it later. But I'm going to tell you, welcome to Harvard Business School,
Yeah.
because that's where you are. And we will talk a bit more about it and the extraordinary opportunity you have in front of you. And congratulations for making the choice to join us here in Roswell. So, and by the way up front, we're talking Zoom. I'm in the office a lot. I am always available. Questions, whatever, give me a call or email me. Uh,
Beautiful. Merle has
going
her offices in the back,
right.
over by the old kind of coffee station kitchen area,
Mhm.
and the complete opposite side of the office from me. You probably can still hear me sometimes because I was moved back in this corner because I was told I was loud. So they
Oh,
put me in
really?
the far office. So hopefully you can't still hear me.
No, no, no. I'm back there with Oscar. We're sharing an office and it's wonderful. Let's go back to the very beginning and life prior to real estate. Although sometimes after being here for so long, I'm going, really? Where was I in the beginning? In the beginning, I had gone to Emory University. And those of you can appreciate it. I was there my second year, and my parents said, Merle, we can't afford to send you back to Emory again. And of course, I was just heartbroken. But guess what? That was the year that loans came out for school teachers. That was the very early beginning of student loans. And so at that point, I hadn't decided what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to stay in college. So I raised my hand and said, hey, I'm going to be a teacher. And I knew that the benefit of the student loans was going to keep me there. So I did stay, I finished, and I taught school. And after a couple of years, I heard about a program that you could be involved in, and that was to teach for the Air Force. And if you signed up, you could teach anywhere in the world. Well, I really hadn't been any place outside of Atlanta, and I thought, this is so exciting. I can't wait. So I applied and found out that I was sent to England. And I spent 2 years teaching at an Air Force base there. It's during the Vietnam War. My classroom was a Quonset hut, which is just nothing more than a metal-shaped building. And the planes took off all day long. So whenever we'd have the plane taking off, we would stop class and then resume afterwards. So a fabulous, fabulous experience, because I did get to travel a great deal all over Europe and just had a wonderful time. Met my husband there, who was a lawyer in the Air Force, and it was great. Came back, taught school here in Atlanta and in DeKalb County. And then I came back, and a friend opened a convention business and invited me to come. So I said, oh, that sounds like fun. So for the next couple of years, convention business, spouse tours were really big way back when. And we would arrange parties, tours. It was nothing to take 500 people on a bus, or several buses out to Stone Mountain for the evening. Or I got to do a yacht party down in Miami. So it was an awful lot of fun. But then I said, I really, really want to do something different. And I started looking toward real estate. I was fortunate enough, my very first real estate job was with a company that no longer exists. They were called Merrill Lynch. They were eventually bought out. But there at Merrill Lynch, I was assigned, at that time they had a mentor program, and so they assigned new agents to senior agents, and I was handed a silver platter because the agent I was assigned to was one of the tops in the city. And just for fun, right off the bat, as a brand new agent, I'm getting to help market Kenny Rogers' ranch outside of Athens. And fun, interesting. Did we sell it? No, but but it was an experience. It was really an experience, and I had a quick introduction to a lot. The agent I worked with did an awful lot in the $1 million category, and going way back when, that was a big deal, not so much today. So I was able to work alongside her, meet her clients, and I learned a great deal from her. I'm forever grateful many, many years later. From there, I ended up with Coldwell Banker. Coldwell Banker was starting the very first luxury real estate. That was starting to get big. But going back, one of your questions, Bill, was, what was it like in the very beginning? Hey, we didn't have computers.
Right.
We didn't have GPSs. We had big fat books that were published every 2 weeks. And you look through and you shared the book with your client. And then they would tell you which of these houses they wanted to go see.
And
we
you had
didn't
to go
email
and you had to go and get the key for each home. So like if you got the key and you were going to show the home at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and some other agent at some other company wanted to show that house, they had to wait until the key got back to the office or something, right?
That's correct. And you know what was even more challenging? Oh man, do I love GPS today. You could have an out of town. We had an awful lot of relocation business. You could have a client who came in for 3 days. They wanted to see 30 houses, and you had to stay up half the night doing the map. You had to plan the map. so that you knew exactly, you could be very efficient. And oftentimes I would get the client in the car and I'd hand him, we did have a map book, those have long gone, and I'd just say, oh, you're in charge. I'm going to let you be the director and you guide us, even though I'd had all the directions written out, as we go around the city, and you could go from here to there or wherever. It was a challenge. You will all find, go ahead, Bill.
I was saying it is so interesting to think about how our tools have changed over time. You know, I was just thinking, a couple of years ago, we worked together with virtual assistants as well. I would get an email from my client that has like, 7 or 8 homes in it. And one of them is Georgia MLS number, and 2 of them are FMLS numbers, and one is one they found on Zillow, and one is they just couldn't find anything other than the address, and it's a big mess, and it could take like an hour to figure out, like, okay, these are the order that we're going to go see the home in and all that. Now, what I would do is I'd get that email, I'd forward it to my assistant. She knew where the office was by looking at the map. She knew where I lived. She knew what I was doing before that appointment. She knew what I was doing after that appointment. So she'd figure out the whole list, and then she would decide basically what home we were going to go to first based on all of that information, next, 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 and next. And then she would print out from the Philippines, she would print the list of all the tax reports and all the properties we're going to see in the appropriate order. So I would just go down to the printer and pick up my stack and walk out the door, right? And it's just crazy how, and that was a few years ago. You could do this. It could be even more efficient now. Before, we were spending up all night, highlighting okay, we're going to drive down Roswell Road, and then I think there's this right turn. You know what I'm saying? Crazy.
Yeah, today's tools are amazing, and I think you're able to see huge production from agents. There weren't any teams. We were all individual. Maybe you would have a partner, but it would take forever. You'll find this interesting too. If you had an offer and you wanted to present it, no, you didn't email anything. That didn't exist. There was a protocol. You would call the other agent and make an appointment, and you would go to the seller's home. And the protocol was you could not enter the home until the other agent representing the seller arrived first. And then only then were you allowed to go in. And can you imagine, think about some of the offers today, but certainly in years past, they could be low. And you're sitting at the dining room table with the other agent and with the sellers. And you're just sitting there going, oh my gosh, how am I going to present this? This offer is coming in 30,000 less. And you hope that they wouldn't throw you out of the room.
Yeah.
And sometimes they would get very upset. Most of the time we would present it, we would talk to them about their buyer, and then we would just say, I'm going to go wait in the car. There's no other place. I'll wait in the car while you discuss this. And once you're ready for me, if you'll come get me, no cell phone. If you'll come get me, then we'll come back in and finish.
Yeah, no texting, right?
No texting, nothing.
I mean, you were back when there was no texting. I started when there was, they charged you per text, right?
Yeah.
So like, I was like, this is gonna be 25 cents. Should I send this? I don't know.
Hey guys, you are very fortunate today. And I think about all the tools that you have available and how transforming they are. But
yeah, I remember when it wasn't about unlimited, there was no unlimited cell phone minutes either, right?
No.
So
oh no,
I could barely afford the 900 minute
bill.
Yeah, I could barely afford the 900-minute cell phone plan. So I got really good at leaving a message and getting my whole message out in 1 minute. If I went to 1 minute and 2 seconds, I was like, damn.
Yeah. And remember way back then, there wasn't a cell phone. You had that car phone. And
Right.
it was attached to your car, and that's what you could use. But no, I'll take that back, because at some point I remember going in with my cell phone in my hand, but originally we were just operating with that phone in the car.
And you were considered like that was some high living there.
Yeah, it was. And some high car phone bills.
Yeah.
But
So how did
that,
you ultimately find KW?
good question. And I think those of you new will find this interesting. Um, this is going back to the fall of 1999, and I'd heard rumors, but it was very hush hush. It was very undercover, that there was a new company coming into town, and they were starting a new business. So anyway, I was very fortunate. Kay Evans, who along with Bob Kalinsky were the founders, but Kay and I were in the same Sunday school class. So she came to me and told me about this opportunity. And I went,
What do you mean the same Sunday school class? You guys were like childhood friends?
no, we're adults. We are big adults at this time, but this was a very fun adult Sunday school class.
Oh,
It was
okay, okay.
more like a social life, more than we used to say. It's the best social church group in town was our Sunday school class. But
Okay,
anyway,
okay, gotcha.
that was sort of an open door there. And I thought about it, and by this time, I'm going to tell you what's going on. The real estate community is getting word about it, and brokers would stand up in their sales meeting, and they said, "Well, we're going to warn you about this new Keller Williams, and they have something called profit share, but it's nothing but a big scam. It's a pyramid. That's not real." And if you can imagine, back in 1999, I think those brokers were frightened at the time, but they would
Yeah.
stand up and denounce Keller Williams. Um, there were 30 of us who took the leap forward and said, no, this really what we are hearing, what we're exposed to. And again, I had to look at the leadership and say, if they are doing this and they're taking this leap of faith, I certainly can.
So you were
So,
there with like Jennifer Barnes and
we were
um, Rick
right,
Hale and Sean and Jean and all those people, right? Wow.
right, right. And it's amazing. I think about it, quite a number are still there. We look at Sandy Springs was the first office, and originally we had no place to meet. It took a couple of months before that office was open. When we did open, and again, there were only 30 of us, there were realtors from Jenny Pruitt. Kay Evans had been at Jenny Pruitt, a broker, so she brought in those people. Caldwell Banker, there were a wide variety, but again, we were the pioneers, and we would get together, and we had a weekly group, and we called it our synergy group, because guess what, guys? There was no ready-made material. There was nothing you could go download and have an instant listing presentation. We were creating everything from scratch. And it was a challenge, but it was fun. And,
You're
boy,
the I often say to this group that if I was to pick one quality that separates those that do really well from those that do not do particularly well, it's resourcefulness.
thank you.
Are you
And
willing to be resourceful? Like,
yeah,
if you don't know where something is or you don't understand something, are you willing to go ask somebody for it? Are you willing to Google it? Are you willing to go find a best practice online somewhere? Are you willing to ask for help? If you're willing to ask for help, oh man, the sky's the limit.
that's a great point. And that was where we were. We had to be very resourceful because we really had zero. We created some dynamite pieces, and we learned to share. These people are coming from different brokerages, so we really learned to share with each other what we had. And I don't know, Bill, how many agents are in the greater Atlanta area today? Because I think of 30 of us in the very beginning. And
So
how many?
let me think about that for a second. It's probably around, it's probably in the neighborhood of around 6,000, maybe a little bit more than 6,000.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
You know what else is fabulous? I'm looking at your profit share report.
I'm about to talk about that.
All right, keep going. I don't want to interrupt you.
Okay, and then you can share it. Do you know where the other brokers were talking about a pyramid scheme? It was anything but that. And that was one of the attractions to me for Keller Williams, because I thought, oh, this is a great investment for the future. And for me, it definitely turned out to be that way. I'm going to challenge each of you to put those searchlights out there, because the people that I attracted were primarily in my first 12 to 24 months in the business. And over time, of course, that has grown, but my dialogue was always, before you make a change, you owe it to yourself to come talk to us at Keller Williams. And frequently, I would go out to very good friends in other businesses, highly successful. And sometimes I talked to them for 2 or 3 years, but I let them see what Keller Williams had to offer and how it could be beneficial. And of course, years later, they thanked me. Merle, thank goodness you came to us, way back when. We heard Joanne Curtin talk not too long ago, and Roxy Hernandez. After I had been at Keller Williams in Sandy Springs, I moved out to this area. And so I'm in the Windward office, and we incubated. We were brand new. Windward had only been open a year or two. And that's when Joanne and her husband came in. That's when Hernandez, because they were growing, they were starting Roswell.
Yep.
And they were incubated out of our office. And then they were starting the forum over there. So those agents came through. So it was a pleasure to have met them. And I digress because I do want to go back to profit share. Cannot urge you enough to build your financial future. And basically a very easy way, because if you invite your friends, you don't have to give them the script. You invite them in because Bill is going to be there to give them the script. And Bill, are you still teaching how to build your profit share?
Oh yeah, of course. I'll teach anyone that wants to know. Yeah.
Well, and talk about Mr. Successful in profit share. That's Bill, who's one of the top in the entire country in terms of profit share. But it's not only helping your financial future, but what a gift you're giving, even to agents you don't know or agents that you do have a relationship with, because you're going to change their life by inviting them in to participate again with Harvard Business School. So
can I share your number, Merle?
Of course.
So this report that I'm looking at only has from 2006 up until now. But since 2006 to now, you've been paid a little over $227,000.
Thank you.
$227,000, guys.
Yeah. And and I'm going to say, because real estate's had ups and downs. We've had, that's true of everything. There will be many times that profit share check coming in just made all the difference in my ability to stay afloat and to stay in this business.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's generally the top group in Roswell is Joanne and Tom, right? Because they basically started it. You and myself and Denise, right? Who was the 14-year team leader. And we've been in the comma club for a long time. That's when your profit share check has a comma in it,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, thank
Um,
you.
but this is it's amazing what happens over time. And I was just looking at some of the people in your thing, in your profit share tree, and you know, this is maybe not the best way to say it, but it's like you just never know who's going to come.
There
Like
you go.
you've got a gentleman named Merle Johnson who I've been friendly with for a long time, who was brought by Gina Bridges, who I know from for a long time. Merle caught the profit share bug, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
like when Megan brought me to Keller Williams, she didn't know I was going to catch the profit share bug, but
Mm-hmm.
I caught it. And now I'm helping build my family's wealth, but I'm also helping her build her family's wealth, right? And she deserves every penny of it. So
Mm-hmm.
now you've got, a couple of hundred people in your downline that are out there making money for their families while it's supporting your long-term plan.
Mm-hmm.
It's just amazing, amazing.
It is. It is. Just can't emphasize enough to all of you who are just new, starting out. Really, really make that one of your focuses because it's life changing, isn't it, Bill?
Yeah, I mean, I know this isn't about me, but I know many of you guys have heard my story to some degree. Like, you know, I took an interest in this, and I used a lot of the systems and the tools of the millionaire real estate agent, and went and found the people who hadn't gotten into the business yet. And I just learned from people that had come before me. I didn't create any of this stuff, but I was super consistent about it, and that exposed me to a lot of different people.
Mm-hmm.
And it equipped me to have the right conversations with the right people. I mean, that I had got an opportunity, and my wife and I are investors in KW Israel. Like that would have never come to me if I didn't excel in what I was working on. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you've had
Yes.
tons of opportunities that have come to you simply because you're
Yes.
influential.
Yes, yes, and I look at it because some of my early recruits were right out of Windward and right out of, I look down and I see Pam Duncan, who's
Yeah.
certainly a leader here, a top producer. And I didn't recruit her directly, but the woman that I did recruit, recruited Pam and her whole team. So you
Right.
never know where it will go,
Right.
but
And there's
make
there's
that.
there's cappers that I helped bring over even as recently as a month or two ago that had a relationship with somebody that's in your downline, and so they're in your downline.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know. So
It's
beautiful.
amazing, absolutely amazing.
Does
Yeah.
anyone have any questions about profit share while we're on this topic before we move on to something else? Okay. Talk to us a little bit about um, uh, how is your business, walk us through kind of some of the way that your business has evolved, and what do you see out there happening? How are you making adjustments for the world of the iBuyers and the COVID and multiple offers? I mean, it's certainly different than it used to be for you. Walk us through how do you operate from a kind of the CEO seat? Like we talk a lot about this idea of we work in the business, but
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes we forget that we own the business as well. And unfortunately, rarely does the person leave kind of the worker bee seat and sit in the owner's seat and say, am I doing this right? Do I need to bring more resources to my worker? Do I need to, get smarter? Do I need to spend more money in technology? Like walk us through kind of what's going on in your brain to stay on top of the market, because you're still one of our top agents.
That's a great, great question, Bill, and that's a great challenge. But I'm a big believer if you aren't growing in every direction, you're going out. You've got to either you're moving forward or you're moving backward. As I especially I'm going to focus on the last few months, February on, as we became locked down, there was so much education offered to us. So, you could spend every day forever taking a class. I took a lot of those classes. I learned what agents all over the country were doing, how they were adjusting. And I certainly sat through a lot of more computer-based, and I quickly realized I needed to add an awful lot of tools, techniques, dialogues to my business.
Right.
And you have to, you can't remain in status quo. And again, I have to go back to, we laugh around me is computer technology is not my middle name. I came along too late. I know some of you probably had it from grammar school on. So that was the challenge. And I said, okay, if you're going to do it and do it right. So I've hired a lot of help. I hired a computer teacher and said, this is what I don't get. This is what I need to know. And I want you to come in and educate me on this particular thing. Bill, you and I've talked about leverage.
Yep.
I'm a huge believer in leverage. It can be part-time in the beginning. It can be virtual, as you know, the Philippines. It could be this past week, I've been working with another agent who's highly technical, very good at marketing. So we have been working together to produce a newsletter. We're going to be working on the electronic newsletter. Because that's critical. We're going to be looking at video. Everything that I know and I read has said, you need to be out in video. So she's going to show me how we add that video to the electronic newsletter.
Right. You're not sitting around waiting for your old clients to call you.
No.
You're going out there and changing with the times. And if there's some new device that comes along that makes business easy, then you either learn it or you hire somebody to teach it to you, and then you use it like everyone else is using it. You don't just sit around and say, Zoom's not for me. Well, Zoom wasn't for any of us 6 months ago.
No. And you know what, interesting, I've chatted with friends who are in other real estate offices, and they said, oh, well, I just can't handle technology. I'm hanging it up. And I went, oh, that's just so sad, you know, because why aren't you out there? Again, it goes back. I read something interesting recently that our brain is already expanding it. The more we use it, the more it expands. And it doesn't matter in what capacity, but I went, I've really expanded my brain in the last 6 months because all of this is new to me, but it's you've got to embrace it. And for some of you, I'm sure it's very easy because you were already there. Command is a challenge for me. I know I'm going to do whatever it takes to master command because it offers so much for all of us. And thank you, Gary Keller, and the foresight to have been developing this plan.
It kind of reminds me of, like, you ever seen that meme where it's like when you were learning to walk, you didn't just like fall down a couple of times and get up, fall down again, get up, fall down again, and then say, this walking thing ain't for me. Right.
No.
You said, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna have to figure this thing out. Like, did you go to school to learn how to use your cell phone? No, you figured it out, or you asked somebody to help you, or you looked at something online to figure out how to use it. Like, again, it's resourcefulness.
Yes, big time, big time. The other thing that I really will share with everyone, I've congratulated you, number one, on making the move to our office. Number two, give yourself a huge applause. You are now in Bill's productivity group. You may be there 2 months, you may be there 2 years, but congratulations for doing that, because there's no better teacher. And he's out there teaching you those scripts. He's out there, and you're at the very beginning of your career. Look what you're doing to build for the future, because everything you've learned or are learning, you're going to take with you forever.
Right.
And that's another beauty of Keller Williams. There's so much to offer that all you have to do is go out, raise your hand, and seize it. So
So
I
if
congratulate you on doing that.
if you were new to the business right now, Merle, knowing everything that you know, what would be your, well, let me back up. I always, I've been told that I'm decent at helping take the complex to making it simple, right? And so what I've told the group is, I said, look, you got to focus on two things, okay? The first is all the learning, all the stuff you got to learn, the market, the
Oh,
stats,
yeah.
the trends, the negotiations, the contracts, the presentations, the scripts, all that. And then the other thing you got to figure out is your database. You got to have some people to share that with, right? And so your day has to be, is kind of ping-ponging between getting smarter and having more
Yes.
people that you can share your intelligence with,
Yes.
right? So, within that framework, how do you think a new agent should spend their time? Where do you start?
That's a great, great question. And I'm going to share that not only as a new agent, but an agent who's been in the business. It's changed. It's changed tremendously. And I too sometimes struggle with, okay, how much time am I going to devote to learning? And how much time am I going to focus on running my business? I'm going to just do a real quick as a new agent. And I think maybe you tell me if you can, I would be in bold. I would be in bold. I'm taking bold again. I've taken it many times. I find bold on Zoom class even more productive than sitting in a classroom driving, sitting there 8 hours. It's really great. So Bill, can you check in if any of them can? It's just dynamite.
Yeah, we have back like 2 bolds ago, basically everyone in the entire program was in bold together. And it was a awesome synergy. I mean, there was a lot of talking about what we were learning. Now we probably have about maybe 10 or 12 people in bold. And we've been spending our morning sessions a couple minutes each morning saying, hey, what you hear, what you learn, what are you thinking now? Does anyone want to share something that they've learned in bold? Merle's in it now. Merle, what have you heard this time around that you haven't heard before? You're thinking about it differently.
Hey guys, and this is why I say jump in it. I said yesterday, I heard a young woman, she had graduated from college with a degree in finance, couldn't find anything. You're shaking your head, John, so I think you're hearing her story.
That was one that I brought up earlier, Bill. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
unbelievably impressed.
2 years, only after 2 years in the business, she's on track to do 100 units this year. Woo. And hey, John, I'm going to be on the class this afternoon. I'm sure you are too.
Yes, the coaching class. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you know what? Where she did it by FISBOs and systems. She knew no one in her new city. She had no contacts, didn't grow up there, but she focused on FISBOs, and bold again is focusing on FISBOs. Didn't you love her class?
Oh, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Her conversion rate. She mentioned, I mean, just being consistent. Then she did the role play with Jake. She actually did a role play, and it was just so smooth and easy and free flowing. And I was very impressed by that.
Sometimes I've heard the line, you know what beginner's luck is all about, right?
Yeah.
Beginner's luck, you wonder why somebody has beginner's luck. Well, they have beginner's luck because they just do what they're told to do, and they're not trying to use their they're not trying to be creative about it. They're just doing what they're told to do, and they have great results. If you come in and you're like, well, I did it this way, and in my past job, I did it this way, and I think I've got a better way to do it, or yada, yada, they don't have beginner's luck because they're so damn stubborn that they won't just follow instructions.
And that's what she did. And she took those scripts. But guess what, guys? She practiced them 2 hours every day. I went, whoa. So yeah, she had beginner's luck, but it came along with an awful lot of practice and work, but it's paid off. I can't wait to hear from her again this afternoon. And so, Bill, those people who haven't joined Bold, can you see if they can still join? The things are recorded.
You could still join. It's $99. If you pinned a transaction between now and, am I frozen? Hang on.
You're good.
Okay. If you pinned a transaction between now and December 20th, when that deal closes, you'll get your $99 back. I mean, if you're diligent about it and you just go meet a couple of agents that work across the country, you could probably end up with a couple referrals. And everything is hosted on the site, so you can go back and watch the coaches' corners or the live streams, and you'll be able to do that for another 2 months. So it's not too late by any means. You can catch up this weekend.
No, and you know what? You asked me what are some tips for beginning agents. That's a big tip. That's what I'm practicing, because I realized that I needed to really rev my business up. And so what better way than to be involved in Bold and to get back into the habit of prospecting every day, follow up, just go jump into that, because I think the top leaders across the country say follow the schedule. Well, the schedule is 2 hours of prospecting every day. Let nothing else get in between. Have I been guilty of not following this, chasing some squirrel? Yes. But my focus is I go into the last part of this year and look toward next year. I'm prospecting. I'm going to be on that phone, calling clients. Your database is king. And I hope you're all working on growing it. I hope you're all involved in some community activity, be it Lions Club, Kiwanis, Alpharetta Business Club, for 2 reasons. Number one, you have an opportunity to give back. Number 2, you're involved in the community, so you know what's going on. And number 3, those contacts that you make now will follow you, or you will follow them for the next 10 years or longer of your career.
Yeah.
I have some groups that I've belonged to for 20 years. They're great. They're great friends, but they're also wonderful contacts for my database. So go out there and get involved with your community and add them to your database.
Love it. What do you do? I should have started with this, but what keeps you busy outside of real estate?
What do I do outside of real estate?
Yeah.
There's some days I said, do I do anything but real estate? I happen to love this business. It's a passion. I love the involvement with people. I love all the aspects. But another thing that I do love, I love to read. I read an awful lot of fiction, biography. I read an awful lot of business books. Every time I hear about it, please put that on your list. When you hear about a book, grab it, read it, because it has so much to say. And right now, I'm reading Atomic Habits.
Oh yeah, I was about to ask you. I was about to ask you what book you're reading. Atomic Habits is amazing. Tell us.
Isn't it fabulous? Yeah. So, and I read it a bit every night, and sometimes it just depends. Can I read it more or longer? I'm also reading a book, not real estate related. I think it's called Mindset. I'll have to look at it, but it's talking
By
about,
Carol Dweck.
yes, you
That's
know it.
another really good one.
Isn't that fabulous? She
Yeah.
talks about either we have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. And again, you're in a business, you're growing your business. What can you do to make sure you are part of the growth mindset? Oh yeah, I love that book, don't you?
You're like me. I literally am in the middle of 5 books right now.
Okay. Oh
Not
yeah.
only do I read a lot, but I have a bit of ADD, and I'm like, ooh, what about this one? What about this one? Right.
Mhm.
I
I
love
love
that book too.
business books. I love business books. I belong to two book clubs right now. We're Zooming, but again, it's the camaraderie that I enjoy. It's the intellectual stimulation, and the books do an awful lot. They're a wide variety. It's not just the latest fiction book or the latest mystery. Trying to remember the book that was still so popular, about Churchill in England in the very beginning of World War II. I'll think of it. And the reminder when you read it, we think we're having a tough time. We think this is horrible. Go back and read that book. I'll send you, go back. You will really read tough. You will really read resilience. And that's what they had to survive.
Right. You know, a seller lists with somebody else and it's going to ruin your day. Yet you go back to your air conditioning office and order, you know, DoorDash to have food delivered to you. And, you know, like, get a grip, right?
Mhm. Right. Yeah. I'll find the name of the title of the book and send it to you, Bill, because I would highly recommend that to everybody. So I enjoy that. I do have a dachshund, Belle, and she's great pleasure. And we try to make that daily walk somehow or another. And just fun, just a fun to have her, to play with her. The other thing that I have recently taken up is gardening. They said it's the most therapeutic thing you can do out there. And with a neighbor's help, we're redoing my front yard, which before was nothing but pine straw. And so now fall is the time to plant. So next spring, it should be gorgeous. We've really worked hard. And I went, how much fun. John, you're smiling. Is that one of your pleasures also?
Well, it's not really a pleasure because I'm not very good at it, but I've tried to grow grass probably about 50 times so far, but good luck. I hope it works out better for you than me.
I'm lucky. I have a neighbor who's very talented. She also consults with pikes. So she came down, and you've never heard the idea of someone fluffing your plants, but we planted several things that needed fluffing. And I went, oh my gosh, that's unusual, but it's fun. If you can find a friend who enjoys something that you think you would like to master, go take them to lunch, dinner, whatever, but tag along, learn quickly.
See how these kind of concepts and advice can parallel and be used very nicely into real estate, right? We plant the seeds, we fluff it a little bit, and poof, out comes the listing, right?
There we go. It's a great analogy, Bill. And we remember to water it. And sometimes I look at plants and I said, I didn't water that. I didn't water it. It's dead. And it's so true with, I didn't touch that client. I didn't stay on the phone. I didn't send them anything. And man, they just went and bought with somebody else. And so it's reality to say, well, Merle, what did you fail to do? You know,
Right.
Did you do what you were supposed to do to nurture and grow this relationship?
Yeah, and the other side of that is we actually talked about this morning in the leadership huddle. What are you watering? Right? Are you watering weeds?
Good.
Or are you watering flowers? Right?
Uh-huh.
So if you're if you're watering the negative stuff in your head, you're going to get more negative stuff.
Thank you.
If you're watering the positive stuff in your head, you're going to get more positive stuff, right? Like, are you spending time on the weeds, which might be the person that isn't really cooperative and isn't engaging and doesn't listen to anything you ask them to do, and it, keeps changing their mind? And are you watering the weeds, or are you spending time watering the relationships that really are going to support your business in the long run and that are just more fun?
Correct. What's the Bow law? What you focus on expands.
Exactly.
So yeah, choose carefully what you're focusing on, and go with it.
So
the other truth through the business or through lifetime experiences is, if you really want to grow yourself as a person, grow yourself as a business, be aware of who you surround yourself with. And again, I go back to how important it is that you've chosen to be here. You have surrounded yourself with giants, with experience, with so much to share. Take advantage of that. Take advantage. I know it's very hard to have much of a relationship right now, but reach out to people. You'll find the top producers, some of the most gracious people in terms of sharing ideas or thoughts, or being most willing to help you. So as you go through this journey, as you build your beautiful business of real estate, always keep that in mind. Who am I hanging out with? What are their attitudes? And as you said, Bill, it's time to say goodbye to some. We don't need to water that relationship because they aren't healthy.
Right.
You have to choose who you're going to be in business with.
Yeah, it's kind of, that's the mic drop moment. It's like, all right, guys, class dismissed, right? I mean, you gotta know who you're spending time with. All right, I certainly want to be respectful of your time, Merle, but I'm glad we have a couple more minutes. I got maybe one or so more questions for you, and I don't know if anyone else wants to pipe in, but what's the next chapter look like for you? What's the what can we expect from you in a couple years, 5 years, 10 years? Where do you see yourself? Do you have a plan to transition out of the business? What can we expect from you?
Thank you. Thank you. What a great question. And thank you for asking, because periodically I get the question, well, Merle, when are you retiring? And I just smile very nicely and say, I'm not retiring. There was a very famous realtor out of Texas. I don't remember her name, but she stayed on and stayed on.
Oh, Holiday.
Thank you. Yeah.
I forget her first name, but she never retired, and she lived to be like 102 or something.
Well, I think again, if you stop growing, yes. And thank you for asking me that question. Yes, I do have a plan. And the plan is to grow in a specific area. I'm really focused on the older people. I'm in their category. I understand helping them to right size, helping them to downsize, helping them to realize sometimes you get the call and it's an emergency. Oh, Bill just fell and broke his hip and we don't have a bedroom on the main level and we can't do it. Teaching them to think forward, giving them the tools, the vendors to help. And along that line, Bill, thank you. Great question. Yeah, I want to do a series of videos for YouTube, bring in some of the vendors that I know, but it's more of an educational mode to guide and direct people, because so often this is a group that are taken advantage of, that are subject to scams. And so if whether or not I do their business, if I can be of help and a guide, because I've spent a long time researching what's available, I spent a long time making key contacts in that arena. And I think it's very, very important. So yeah, there's a 3-year plan out there.
All right. All right. What's the long-term plan? Are you going to be like Mrs. Holiday and sell until you're beyond 100?
You know, wouldn't it be fun? And I hope it's motivation to stay in touch, to keep your physical life and your body in good shape. I think the long-term plan would be to stay in touch as long as I can, but also to be able to mentor people like your group coming in.
Yeah.
You know, it would be great joy to come back and say, you know, I really helped so and so and so and so. I helped them get started. I held their hand when times were tough. But you know what was fun? Not too long ago, one of my very, very early clients, he was a free-time bachelor when I met him. And when I picked him up for that very first time to go look at property, he was so hungover. He had been partying the night before. And I went, okay, I'll get you some coffee, but we're still going to go out. We have a deadline. We're going to go out and find you the right house. You know what? He called me and said, Merle, I ran across your name and I remember you so well. And I thank you because you did find the perfect house for me. And I stayed there a long, long time. And now today I'm retiring. But it's awfully nice that you've made significant impact in lives. And guess what, guys? You're doing it every day.
Yeah.
You really, really are. So Merle just said a long time ago, and I've never forgotten it. She said, sometimes we play God. And in that sense, that you bring your knowledge, your expertise, you bring your honesty to the table, because your guidance is making a decision that will impact their lives in a big, big way. So keep that in mind. You have a sacred trust, so to speak, to take the very best care you can of whoever comes across your path.
That is I'm so glad that you said it that way. And sometimes we forget that, you know, we're dealing with people oftentimes in one of the most stressed moments of their lives.
Yeah.
Not to mention the fact that it's a huge financial commitment and a huge financial decision. And, you know, it's like if they pick the home with the big backyard versus the home with the basement, it could have an impact on their lifestyle for like, that's the environment that kid's going to grow up in, or that's going to be that dynamic, you know, are the family, you know, is the bedroom on the main or not on the main? And does that have an impact on like kind of how that family functions? Like it's so much deeper than just throwing somebody in a house and getting paperwork signed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you guide them with their questions. I just remember once the client fell in love with this gorgeous home. And I said, you know, I agree with you, but I'm going to ask you, let's go back and look at what we drove through to get here. And it was too much of an industrial area. Mm-hmm. And I said, how comfortable are you going to feel inviting friends to come through your house and they have to drive through that? So it's asking them good questions to make them think. You aren't telling them, but you know, hey, I just want to ask you this. Getting them to focus on what's really important.
I love that. Merle, so much of this has been just nugget after nugget after nugget.
Thank you.
I do want to thank you publicly for your service to Roswell, to your involvement over the years, and sitting on the ALC, the Agent Leadership Council, and being running committees and bringing your influence and your experience and your expertise to our market center, for your willingness to teach and come and you know, participate in opportunities like this. So thank you very, very much for that. Does anyone have anything on their mind they want to share, or a question for Merle?
I just want to say thank you. Sometimes just listening to your story, I'm one who's not, you know, really, really good with technology either, but listening to your story helped me to realize and just remind myself that you all paved the way for us. So it's our due diligence to be great because we didn't have to go through, all the things that you did, with real estate in regards to not having computers and not having free cell phone minutes and not being able to text. It's just like everything is really, really convenient. And instead of complaining, and I'm speaking for myself about things that I don't understand, that's more of an opportunity to learn because real estate has come so far. And then you've given us, too, in addition, just so many nuggets. Like everything that you said, it was welcoming, it was warming, and it let me know that I'm at the right place at the right time in my life because I get to be with the likes of people like you. So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you, Ebony. That was
And it's like,
lovely, lovely. And thank you again, Bill. I
and that's like
appreciate it.
exactly why you don't want to retire, right?
That's right. No, I'm
Is
here.
because that's what it's all about, right? When we've had success and we've learned a lot, we just feel compelled to share it. Thank you for sharing that, Ebony. Anyone else want to share anything?
Thank you, Ebony.
Anyone? Okay. Merle,
Okay.
I'm super grateful as always.
Thank you,
I'm super
Bill. I
grateful.
appreciate the opportunity,
I'm like,
and I will see you all in bold.
yeah, I'm just picturing, you at like 100 with like your
That's
like
right.
Google glasses and like a famous YouTube channel. And it's just, I can't wait to see it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My pleasure.
All right. Bye, guys.